and welcome to the latest episode of the Slow Crafting Podcast. My name is Nadine and I'm coming to you today from the northwest of England near Manchester. Now today's episode is slightly different to normal because I'm going to go back in time soon to show you videos that I recorded earlier on in the summer, and it's going to talk you through some of my sort of slow crafting, mending, visible mending and invisible mending and general clothes repair that I've been doing over the summer holidays while the girls have been knocking around, because it's not always possible to do crafts and things when they're around, so I took the time to work through the mending pile that was getting quite ridiculously huge. So the next section of video will talk you through all the projects that I had at the beginning of the holidays, and then the second section talks through some of the mending that I did on them. Now I did add more and more and more during the course of the holidays, because every time they got something out of the wardrobe I found that it had something that needed repairing or fixing, or either when they got it out or after they'd finished wearing it for that day. So I might go through some of the extra things at the end, but then the final section of video will talk you through my favourite mending project of the whole series. So yes, without any more faff, I'll let you get on and watch the first section of video. Okay, so this is the mending pile. Now all this represents about 2 months worth of mending and alterations that have built up. It's for a family of 4, so 2 adults and 2 small girls. I don't know if it's typical over that time period or not, but this is what we've got that's built up over the last couple of months anyway. So in front of me here are 2 cardigans that I knitted last year. They're on the pile for alterations. I just need to put some loops on those for attaching some buttons, because they were open closures. Didn't make sense. Open fronts with no buttons, but I've realised that I do actually need buttons on. So those 2 cardigans there. Now this pile here has got 3 commercially made cardigans that all need seams fixing. So there's 2 sort of lightweight, small fitted knitted ones that need seams mending under the armpits, I think. And then the top one is a oversized one that needs a sleeve seam mending and some reinforcement around the cuffs. I've had that top one for 25 years, a long time anyway. The gilet or body warmer at the back just needs the hanging loop reattaching because it's come off at one side. This pile here is mostly leggings, but it's generally jersey fabric that's got holes in and or a couple of stains on as well. So I've got 4 pairs of children's leggings, 1 pair of my leggings and a skirt. So I'll either patch or embroider over the holes and probably patch over the stain on one of them. Now this pile here, I'm showing you how messy my front living room is items with tears in the actual fabric. So we've got a handkerchief, a pair of shorts, a dress, but it's also got a couple of buttons missing as well as the tears in the fabric, and then a vintage maxi dress underneath. This jumper here is a massive beast, but it's my comfy camping jumper, oversized and awesome, and it was my dad's, but my mum hated it, so she sneaked it to me so I can wear it now. But it's got a hole in the front, so that's actually going to mean that I need to pick up some stitches and re-knit a section of the jumper, probably only about 1 inch to fill the hole. And the small pile at the back is a miscellaneous pile. So that's a dress that needs the ties reattaching to it or securing properly. A fancy dress hat that needs a couple of bits stitching back to it. A t-shirt that's got stains on it that need embroidering over. And a pair of pants for my other half, where the elastic on the waist has come away from the body of the pant material. But I definitely need to fix those because he bought them specially for our first date. So they have lots of emotional attachment to them. But yes, so this is the mending pile, and I'll show you bits and bobs I'm mending as I'm mending them, or what they look like once they're fixed. Okay, so I've been working on the mending pile for about 3 days now, on and off, so it's probably taken me the equivalent of like 1 full day's worth of actual work, and this is all I've done so far. So this is the body warmer, and I've just reattached the hanging loop because it had come away at one side. So that was the first and very quick and easy one. Then this wasn't actually on the pile because I found a few other bits when I was looking at what I needed to mend or alter. And this was a t-shirt that my daughter picked out for me for Christmas. Not last year, the year before. And I'd not really worn it because it had big sort of flared sleeves that started just above the elbow and came down to the wrist. And it wasn't flattering at all. It was actually quite hideous. But I liked the pattern on the t-shirt itself. So I've just cut off the sleeves just above the elbow, which it might be halfway down the forearm, and I've just left that raw at the moment. I don't know whether I'll hem it or not because it's jersey, so it should be fine. It shouldn't fray or anything. It might just roll slightly. We'll see how we get on with that. If it starts to look a bit scruffy, I'll hem it and make the sleeves a bit shorter. But yes, so I just chopped both the sleeves off, and the spare fabric has come in very useful for some of the other jobs I've been doing. Okay. Right, so this is a pair of pyjamas, a onesie, for my 6-year-old, and it had holes in the armpits and the gusset, just on the seams where the stitching's burst. So I've just resewn those. Done some invisible mending on those bits. Same goes for this pair of pyjamas, but they're for my 4-year-old. Again, the gusset seam and the underarm seam were starting to pop, so I've resewn those. But there's nothing to see because, like I say, it's an invisible mending, so you can't really see where I've restitched it. Okay, now this pair of leggings did have a hole just under here in the bum, so I've patched it with some of the spare fabric from the sleeves that I chopped off the other t-shirt. So I've just done a blanket stitch around the edge of the patch, and hopefully that should stretch and move the same as the fabric in the rest of the leggings, because I didn't want a different material which didn't move and stretch in the same way. Okay, so that was all that needed fixing on those. Now this dress, every time I look at it I find a new stain. So what I thought was going to be a quick repair isn't. Looking at it, really I should have just over dyed it a different colour, and that would have got rid of all the stains, sort of a navy blue or a black or something very dark. But I started off mending or covering over one stain at a time, and then when I looked at it in daylight I'd find some more, and then I'd find a grease stain, and then so it's got several patches. Again, using the material that I cut off the sleeves,
So that was a grease patch. Here there was stains where she dropped food down it. And I think this was a pen stain, and the same there. And then on the back there is a tiny little bit of embroidery as well, because there was another tiny little pen stain there, but some of these were bigger, and I can see that there were other marks on it when I look at it in proper daylight. So that means it's probably going to end up with more patches and more flowers and things on. But it's getting a bit dark now. I need to look at that probably outside. Right, another pair of leggings. These are just sort of scruffy plain out leggings, but these had popped the seam in the gusset, and there was a stain under here. I don't know what she'd sat in. I think it was some sticky tar on a sleeper or something in Grandma's garden, but I've just again used some fabric offcuts from the sleeves. I showed this to my little girl and she got very excited. She told me I was the best mummy ever. So what I thought was quite a clumsy repair, she's very happy with and looking forward to wearing them. So that's alright. Okay, nearly at the end. Right, this dress is my 4-year-old's, and it had a tiny hole right at the very bottom. So I've mended this with some embroidery. Well, I sewed up the hole first of all, and then I embroidered over it just with some bullion knots and some chain stitches to make it look a bit floral, using colours that tie in with the spots on the dress. So we've got a mint green here and a very pale pink there. So from a distance you won't necessarily notice it straight away. And then the last one that I've been working on, oops, sorry, sticking my finger over the lens, is this t-shirt, also my youngest's. Now again, I'd started with putting some patches on from the spare fabric from the sleeves to cover up stains, because this had stains all down the front. But when I've looked at it in daylight, you can't really see here, but oh, you maybe just can. There are drip stains all down here and all down this side. And thinking about it, I think the best course of action is going to be to dye the whole t-shirt. So I was thinking, because I haven't actually got any dye in stock, I was just going to stain it with tea, put it all in one go. Don't know whether to tie dye it or do it as a single colour, because my patience for standing and stirring things to get them evenly coated is very, very minimal. But we'll see how. So I'll probably over dye that with some, or stain it with tea to make it a sort of beigey colour t-shirt, and hopefully then the patterns that I've cut out will still stand out. Unfortunately, the thread that I used is a polycotton, so once I've stained, oh sorry, once I've stained the fabric, that will stay white, so that'll show up a bit more, but it's not the end of the world. So that's what I've got done so far in about 3 days on and off, or like 1 full day's worth of work, and I've still got all that pile to go. So admittedly 4 of the things on there are quite chunky knitted things, but it's still a lot of work to do, so it might take me a little bit longer to get this video up than I'd planned. There's probably going to be lots more patching and sewing up of holes, some alterations, and some more reworking seams. Right, well, this is this is the pile of extra things that got added to the list. Actually no, handkerchief was the same. There were some more t-shirts, both of mine and the girls, and a dress that my daughter ripped at a children's party, a jumper that had the trim around the cuff was coming off, so I resewed that, some fancy dress outfits that needed some of the trim re-sewing. My vintage dress there that needed a tear sewing up in it. This dress, let's see if I can find the buttons. Yeah, I'd already repaired it once, which is this one here, where I patched it and then did some embroidery over the top of the patch. So I did that again on the second patch where it had torn onto that one, and both these buttons had popped off, so I sewed those back on again. So that was that, and then some more embroidery on one of the shoulders because there was a little hole. There it is, on my daughter's t-shirt. Some patching on a t-shirt of mine. Oh, now these trousers I bought to go on holiday. I got them from a charity shop, but whilst we were climbing a mountain, I popped the gusset on them. I fell over and burst the gusset seam, so I had to then walk down the mountain with my pants on show, which was a tremendous amount of fun. Yeah, a bit breezy. So yeah, there's various other things on the pile, but that's all mended now. Now this is my favourite mending project of the whole exercise. It was my comfy camping jumper that's massively oversized and did belong to my dad. Now the hole that was underneath here, I think it was from when he smoked a pipe and he must have dropped some burning tobacco on himself, and it had just burnt a little hole in it. So it was only small, but it had gone across. I think, oh, don't tell me there's another one there. No, that might be alright. But to do this, I picked up stitches between the two columns here and knitted them as a separate section that was, well, it was loose to begin with and just attached at the bottom. So I worked the cables roughly in line with how often the cables were worked on the rest of the jumper. Maybe not quite there, maybe worked a bit more often on this section, but I don't think it's too bad. And then joined, I think I knitted it together at the top. It's a bit of a clunky, lumpy seam, but from a distance it looks fine. And then I just sewed the sides down on either side. I could have picked stitches up and sort of knitted them together so it fastened itself to the sides as I went along, but I wasn't quite sure how it was going to look, so I thought, well, I'll just do that, I'll just sew that down at the end. But I really like it. I used some sort of scraps from stash for this. Now I think the jumper is a wool acrylic blend and this section is 100% wool, but it's not one that gets a massive amount of wear anyway, so I don't need to worry about it necessarily washing differently in different areas, and it wouldn't be something I'd tumble dry anyway because I know it does shrink, which is how I ended up with it. Because my mum hated it so much on my dad that she deliberately shrank it so she could give it to me. But yes, I really do like that patch, and it's right in the middle of the jumper of the chest. It does look a bit like you've been shot in the chest with it being red, but I do like it as a visible mend. I think it looks really, I was going to say really nice, but that sounds a bit conceited, but I like the way it looks, and I'm happy with how that's worked out in the end. So yes, that's the jumper finished, and I have eventually got to the end of that particular mending pile, but like I say, I did end up adding quite a lot of other items to it. Oh, hang on a minute. Right, I'll go back to looking at me so you're not just staring at that one patch on my jumper while I finish off. Yes, I did notice that
out of all the mending that I was doing, the mending for me was predominantly seams or things that had ripped, because I was trying to squeeze myself into clothes that were still realistically too small for me. So the clothes that I'd had for years, but that were sort of a size 12, and realistically I am currently a size 14, 16. So verging more towards a 16. So it's no wonder that the seams were being put under a tremendous amount of strain and were popping. But not wanting to buy an entire new wardrobe, I would just have to keep mending my clothes. So that was mostly what my mending consisted of. The mending for my children was mostly food and pen stains, covering up of, holes in jersey from generally wear and tear, quite a few knee patches from where they'd fallen over and gone through the leggings, and other places it was just because they do have quite limited wardrobes, because they grow so quickly and they only need a certain number of clothes, but because they wear them so regularly, the ones that they do have, the washing takes its toll on the jersey and you end up with the little holes in it as you do. So most of the repairs on jersey were to do with that, and again seam repair, but with those it was because they weren't particularly expensive clothes for the most part, so I think it was just sort of shoddy workmanship on the clothes to begin with that necessitated seam repairs on their clothing. And then on my partner's clothes, because I did mend a pair of shorts for him, but he's wearing them today so I can't show you them. His most of the pairs that needed doing for him are on shorts, and it's because he is really rough on his clothes. He has an even smaller wardrobe than I do. He has a very, very minimal wardrobe, but he like wears cargo shorts or combat shorts most of the time, and is forever having tools or bits and bobs in and out of his pockets as he's doing things, so they're generally ended up with tears on the pockets somewhere. So the repairs for those have been sort of patching or patching plus reinforcement stitches on top of the patching to stop things wearing through so quickly next time. But yes, so it's been quite interesting just to see how much I did get repaired. I mean, admittedly it was over the summer holidays and it did take a long time, but thinking of the sheer amount of clothing that some families would have just thrown away, but that was actually rescued and was wearable again with just a few minor repairs. Admittedly, if I did it as and when I got something to repair, it would be a lot quicker process and a lot less time consuming and a lot less daunting. But because I saved it up, I think that's what made it a bit more full on. But yes, it's amazing just what a little bit of effort can rescue. So yes, I have noticed actually, because there's an area upstairs which is outside the bathroom, and that does tend to be piled up on the set of drawers out there is where the children tend to leave the clothes that need repairing. And I noticed a couple of items have appeared on there in the last week, so I probably need to get on with those as well. I know there's a pair of leggings and something else, I think. But yes, the never-ending cycle of repair. Right, anyway, hopefully next episode should come out a bit sooner because we haven't got the school summer holidays to get through, and I should be back to my normal, here's what I've made from scratch, looking beautiful. because I've got a pair of pyjama bottoms that I've made for my other half that I need to show you, and a jumper that I'm working on as well. So I shall see you soon, hopefully. Alright then, I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.